Welcome to Live from Your Laptop. Hear straight from Clavio's community of some of the fastest growing brands and partners about how they're growing their e-commerce business and owning their destiny. Hosted by Morgan Lasky, for today's episode, we welcome ONeill.
All right. Hey, you guys. Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to Live from Your Laptop. You are in the right place. My name is Morgan Lasky, and I head up our community events here at Clavio. I am back in Boston this week. Some of you know I was in Puerto Rico for a month, loving life, loving the sun. I'm back in Boston. Hallelujah. I did not come back to a blizzard. That would have made me very depressed and completely, defeated the purpose why I went to Puerto Rico. Anyhow, I want to know where you guys are tuning in from today. Please post up in the chat who you are, what brand or agency you are with, and where you're tuning in from. Like I said, it's about 60 here in Boston. That's considered shorts weather for us New Englanders. I know some of you in California, you're going, oh my God, that's so cold. Not for us, guys, not for us. We're loving it. All right. Also, put your videos on because I love to see each week everybody's face. I see a lot of you. I have it in my gallery mode so I can see you. Hello. Thank you so much for being with us today, you guys. In the next hour, we've got a great show for you. I am pumped to have such an iconic brand on the show today. We've had a lot of amazing brands on Live from Your Laptop, but today we have a legendary one. ONeill joins us. Seriously though, raise your hand if you have ever rocked this brand in the past or even today. Yep. Oh my God, like almost everyone's hands are raised. Totally. So such an iconic name. I'm definitely having a flashback to my 16-year-old self. And no, I wasn't a surfer girl, but I just loved the swimsuits and I don't know, those hot surf guys who modeled the clothes too, I guess. Anyhow, we're very pumped to talk with their e-commerce retention manager, Tim, who is going to take us through the history of ONeill, how the brand has evolved throughout the years to what it is today. And then we're going to learn more about their marketing strategy and how Clavio in particular has helped grow their e-commerce side of the business. After, we're thinking about what the heck would we do for an activity with ONeill, because surfing, that's like their culture, right? And I'm like, there's no way I'm getting into the ocean in Boston and doing a surf lesson with y'all. So Tim suggested that he was a great cocktail maker and really had a passion for it. So, hey, we said, why not alcohol? It works great. So we're going to be making an island-inspired drink called the Trader Vic's Honey Honey. And I just learned this, and Tim's going to go through this later, but Trader Vic's is actually a really famous tiki restaurant. I guess he was like the inventor of tiki, and Tim will correct me if I'm wrong there, but we're going to be making an original gangster cocktail exclusively here on Live from Your Laptop. So if you didn't have a chance to get the ingredients, no worries. You can make it after the show to kick off those summer vibes. Okay, so then after, you guys will want to stick around because we're doing another giveaway in true Live from Your Laptop fashion. We're going to be giving away a bunch of ONeill merchandise to 2 lucky winners today. So whoever answers in the chat the correct answer, the first one and the 20th one, you're going to win. That way, if you're having slow hands or slow brains, it happens today, you will still have a shot to win. So one reminder before we get started, please make sure you're muted. We want to make sure that, we don't have any disruptions. And let's go. I'm ready to introduce Tim. Tim, let everybody know who you are, where you're tuning in from today, and what you do at ONeill.
Hi, everybody. I live in Southern California. I'm born and raised here. Grown up with surf culture. My older brother surfed, so naturally, I learned how to surf at a fairly young age. The ONeill brand has always been very prominent in my family, as with wetsuits and clothing as well, along with all the other iconic surf brands that a lot of people have grown up with. I went to Long Beach State to get my degree, and then went after that to multiple jobs, but all focused on web design and something to do with the internet marketing. And I started working with ONeill many years ago, but have progressed through the company with their online presence. So we've kind of rolled with the beginning of just having a standard web page all the way up through having a fully realized e-commerce platform. So the story of ONeill is iconic with our founder, Jack ONeill, and we'll get into that, but that's basically my short story.
That's awesome, Tim. So you've been with the brand through the whole kind of migration to e-commerce, and you have some serious knowledge that you're going to drop on us today. So we are super excited to learn from you. Cool. So let's start with that. You know, ONeill is such a legacy brand. Let's kick it off with a brief history of how this company started.
Cool. So in 1952, our founder, Jack ONeill, started the company, and his basic philosophy from the outset was he just wanted to surf more. So he started creating things in order to get him in the water as often as possible. So he's noted with creating some of the very iconic instruments of surfing. He invented the wetsuit. He invented the surf leash. He was basically, he started the very first surf shop in Ocean Beach in California, and then moved to Santa Cruz, where the ONeill family and the ONeill wetsuits is still centered today and headquartered today. So basically, anything that could get him into the ocean for as long as possible, he felt this deep connection with it, and you can see that over his life. We're going to attach some videos afterwards, just so if you want to get a little insight into just how iconic and what a great and amazing person that he is, and what kind of a pioneer he was. He was basically legendary in the surf community. So he passed away in a few years ago, and at the age of 94, and they had a memorial paddle outs all around the world for him. And just to give you a kind of a scope on just what kind of impact he had on the surf community. So
that's awesome. So yeah. There was actually something that I posted in the chat, you guys. It was a link, and we were going to show it. We can still show it. I don't know, Kelsey, do you want to like click on that link? I just think that this is such a beautiful, like, I don't even know, like, it's such a raw, beautiful visual of like the history of ONeill that it's so powerful. Like, I don't know if this is a really heavily viewed page on your website, but I just think it's so cool, right? It's not like a traditional like timeline. Visually it's beautiful, and it's short and sweet. So you're not going into like crazy details, but you have some really cool stuff on there, like that magazine cover. Do you want to talk through, like, has this been on your website since the beginning, or is this something that you guys normally, that you just put on in the last year or two?
Well, this one, I think, is more stylized in the last year or two, but we've always had some form of heritage, just because of how long ONeill has been a business and has been a part of the surf community. So we have a long-standing history that's very easily moved from whether or not we upgrade site to site. But
and there's your pop-up form.
Yeah, there's a pop-up. Make sure you sign up.
Make sure you sign up, you guys.
So yeah, it's with what's cool about is all the innovation that Jack ONeill has done. It's bled into every aspect of our business, from design to all the way through email marketing. So what's cool also is that even with our board shorts, we've continued to innovate. So
yeah,
recently we basically, like what you're seeing right there, that Hyperfreak Hydro is a brand new technology that we invented that gets rid of the need for a drawstring. So you can have a board short that actually closes, is flat, and will stay on you and not rip off, basically. And board short is a colloquialism that, we use. It's, swim trunks, however you say it across the country, everybody has a different word for it. We use it in the surf industry as board short because they're specifically designed for surfing.
Mhm.
And with some of the pioneering and innovations that we've done in board shorts is just the stretch technology. And throughout our email marketing, we've been always trying to push how much we're pushing technology forward and making it easier to surf, et cetera. So that the Hyperfreak Hydro is just the latest in innovation for surf.
Sure. And I don't know if I missed this because I should have been paying attention, but I was trying to pull up the website stuff. Who was your original audience? And I know we're going to later on in the question set, we're going to get into how your audience has kind of morphed, but who were those original targets that ONeill was going after?
Well, the famous story is that Jack said when he was starting the surf shop that people were making fun of him, they would say, "You're going to sell the five guys on the beach and then you're going out of business." And obviously that didn't happen. So we're here almost 70 years later and with a thriving business. And
wow.
Yeah, it's just been building on that surf community ever since. And as you say at the beginning, where everybody has some form of ONeill that they've had in some part of their life, where they've had a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, or whether it's a wetsuit. That is our audience. Our audience has always been kind of a legacy audience. We still have people that are loyal to our brand from a fairly young age to a fairly old age. So we have both a young audience and we have an old audience as well, or an older audience.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Well, Jack's definitely laughing in his grave at people who said that to him. So take that, I guess. All right, cool. Let's move on. So I take a lot of questions from the community on Live from Your Laptop because obviously this show is for them. So this question comes from the community. As a successful wholesaler, which you guys really started as, what was the next step to create a significant amount of brand recognition on the e-commerce side?
Well, it was, trying to get the word out there to that younger crowd, because we've obviously had a great way of connecting with people and making them return customers. And so by trying to reach the younger customer and keep them as a repeat customer throughout their life and create that brand loyalty as a sustainable market, basically. So what we know that with the products we make that we can stand by, we're making great products. If we get people into a first or a second buy, we can sustain that and keep them loyal to the brand.
Right, right. So I would imagine one of the first steps was obviously, revamping the website. I'm sure you had a website, but it wasn't anything that, you were seeing more traffic in your stores, right? So it was revamping the website.
Yeah, always keeping the technology as modern as possible. And when we came upon limitations, we've adapted to them. And then same with the UX design, trying to make things as easily shoppable as possible.
Yeah. And then have you always had a catalog, or is that something that
the mail-in catalog?
Yeah.
No, actually, that was brought on by my current boss, and he has a great background in that. And so just within the last few years, he brought that on and has made that part of our brand, and it's done really well for us. It actually contributes to a large bump every time we send out a catalog.
That's awesome. Yep. Snail mail is not dead, you guys. It is not. Okay, cool. So to follow up from that question, what have been some of your biggest lessons learned from moving into e-commerce? I mean, you've been with the business for a little over 10 years now. what has been key along the way? What's some of those lessons you learned?
Well, one of the bigger things for us was not isolating our retailers. So we're as Jack created a surf shop, we sell in current surf shops. So one of the last things we wanted to do was alienate our brick and mortar shops around on tourist destinations across the United States and beyond. And so by going e-commerce, it was definitely a big strain with the relationship. So we've made some concessions with our retailers to make sure that we're letting them be an equal partner as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So just kind of closing out the whole, retail to, physical retail to e-commerce. Another question from the community that came in was, how are you measuring the impact of online visibility to kind of the brick and mortar shops now? Do you guys still see a future in retail? I think you kind of answered that with the surf shops, but what does that impact look like of how you guys are measuring e-commerce and retail?
Well, retail is still a huge core of our business. So our e-commerce business is great and it's doing awesome, but it's not our core retail business, our brick and mortar business that we will continue to have, and that's always going to be, I think, the lion's share of what our income is. So I don't think that's ever going to go away. We have our own retail shops, but they're mostly outlets. And we have a couple, like a flagship store, but the majority of our business is done through local mom and pop shops, some surf brand chains that are out there. We have Jack's surf shop, Hanson. The list is really long and distinguished, and they're continue to bring a lot of great income for all the surf brands across the board.
Right. So you guys obviously have some great partnerships that you've had for years. You want to continue those to grow, but e-commerce is just another channel to kind of hit some of those younger audience, that younger generation who's scrolling on social, who's scrolling on more web and screens.
Yeah, and we started with social as soon as those started coming on, and we created our own accounts to promote those, and those are still a big part of trying to bring in those top of funnel connections to those younger people, trying to keep that people from churning out, and just keeping getting our information out there, getting our product out there, and trying to attract new customers.
That makes total sense. To follow up on that, Brandon asked, do you only use distributors or do you use wholesale directly to the shops? Can you answer that?
We wholesale directly to the shops. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Good question, Brandon. So moving more into this audience. So let's talk about your audience. And, you said in the beginning, you have this ONeill community and it's massive. You've built it over the last few decades. What are 2 to 3 really impactful things the brand did throughout the years to retain followers and customers? And I have like 7 follow-up questions from this question. So I always do that. So let's start with that. Give us 2 to 3 really impactful things that ONeill did to create that customer loyalty and that relationship with the customers.
Well, one of the things we did right away, we had kind of a legacy database where it was just one big bucket where we had everyone. And fairly early on, we started to try to channel those, basically segment by gender, because we have this huge men's business and we have a huge women's business as well. And by trying to channel them into what their preference was and what they wanted to see, we've that helped, I think, especially with our women's business, which is now doing an amazing revenue and an amazing engagement. So that's one of the biggest things currently. In previous that was done to actually expand the engagement and retention, was focusing email marketing towards a given group and segment. So.
Right. Did you guys get, I mean, maybe in the past, not really, but now, do you see any issues with categorizing your marketing like that based on gender, like strictly male versus female?
No, because it was actually pretty impactful, because we, at a certain point, especially when I first came in, people didn't know we had a women's business. And so over the years, it's become basically, it's almost its own brand. That change early on actually has had a huge impact to just not only make the business bigger, but actually to get that word out that, hey, we have a women's business. It's a strong business. The design's great and still follows kind of the same pattern of innovation as the men's business as well.
Right. So I guess, how are you managing your marketing to, say, your classic audience, which I guess I would be considered maybe your classic audience, because I've been, I've known of you guys since I've been 14. I'm in my 30s now, versus like this new wave of consumers. Like, how do you, like, those must be two different messages, right?
Not necessarily, because the product is pretty much the same across the board. I mean, we do have a brand called the Jack ONeill collection, which is geared towards an older crowd, more of a resort style, with the kind of along the lines of the Tommy Bahama or the Quicksilver Waterman's collection. It's a little bit higher price point because the quality of the product is a little bit nicer, but we're still designing for that young consumer. Since I've been at ONeill, it's always been that way, where we're designing with at least a large portion of our catalog that it's geared towards the 18 to 25-year-old. But also keeping in those old school designs, like the old circle surfer.
Yeah.
And also some of those legacy designs, which we will always have in the catalog, that always sell.
Yeah. So just, I still have questions to this question, but I actually like, oh man, Nemajol. I screw up names all the time in the chat. People laugh at me all the time. I'm so sorry. But anyhow, this is actually a pretty interesting question. Can you talk about the business decision or validation in expanding from surf to snow gear as well? So yeah, you guys definitely do have some snow gear. I saw on your website you have like a snow tournament, or you have like a snowboarding tournament or something you guys do, which will get us a little off topic, but how did you guys approach expanding from surf gear into another kind of, I guess, sport? And they're saying like versus biking gear or mountain climbing gear.
Well, that was all Jack. So Jack ONeill actually started it back in the 80s, and if you go to that timeline thing on the site, you'll see I think you'll see some of the artwork that was him in the snow gear in the 80s, and bright pops of the all the turquoise and neon colors, etc. But that ONeill has been in the snow industry since he pushed us there, and
wow.
His opinion was, if I'm outside, I'm outdoors, and I'm enjoying either the ocean or the snow, he's happy. So
right. So that's kind of grows the audience.
That was a natural. Yeah, it was just a natural
progression. Yeah, exactly. So as far as like influencers, do they come into play here? Like I would imagine like if I'm wearing your brand since, you know, really dedicated kind of followers who are really passionate about the brand, did you lean on them? Did you lean on those like really heavy, I guess, um, wearers, you know, who wore ONeill and used them throughout the years to be influencers for you guys and spokespeople for the brand?
There's I think that goes along with the gender split, because on the men's side, we've always had a surf team that competes on the world stage.
Mm-hmm.
So we've sponsored many athletes over the years, and who are always supporting our stuff. And so for the men's side, we've always used those team riders famously, and currently, like, our top athlete is from South Africa. His name's Jordy Smith, and they're all in Australia right now, gearing up for the first surf contest. And on the women's side, though, we have used influencers. So we tend to find that the influencers work a lot better on the women's side and less on the men's side, where with men's looking for those top athletes that are using the product and wearing our clothes and winning contests, hopefully. And then on the women's side, there's been the fashion influencers, the women's team, which we also do have. We have those influencers as well. So we've done it both on both sides, but it technically not necessarily using the term influencer when referring to the men's, pro athlete.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And then lastly, to wrap up this question, I know you guys partner up with Yotpo, which is a great partner of Clavio's. Shout out to Yotpo. You guys have a rewards program. Do you want to talk about that? Like, when did the rewards program come into play, and how have you guys seen that kind of increase longevity with your customers?
Well, unfortunately, we're in the very early stages of that. So
that's not an unfortunately, Tim. That's great. But you can please tell us kind of some of the lessons you're learning right off the bat.
Well, we haven't launched it yet, so it's a little premature. So we're currently setting up a rewards program for retention, and we're still just fine tuning the details, and we're going to be launching that real soon. And hopefully I can get some more numbers to you when that launches. But currently we have Yotpo reviews running on site, and we've been using those for about 6 months.
Nice. So we'll have to check back in with you about how the rewards program's going. But are you allowed to give us like a sneak peek of it or no?
I don't have it handy real quick, but
no, you don't have to show us. You can kind of talk through it with us. Like, what's the gist of it?
The gist is basically we're going to be giving points as rewards for lots of things. Basically, if you're gonna add a review, we'll give you some points, and those will all translate to dollars on the back end that you can spend on the site.
Spend on products. Nice, love it. Okay, well, we'll make sure to check back in with you about that. Okay, so diving into Clavio now, because we know that this has been a huge asset for you guys over the last couple of years. Just in last year alone, I was checking your guys' stats, and email marketing has driven about 30% of your revenue, which is fantastic. What originally drew you to Clavio, and what features has immensely helped the brand? And while you answer this, I actually want some community involvement. I want you guys, if you are using Clavio, to post in the chat one of the Clavio features you cannot live without. So while Tim's going through his favorite features and why he adopted Clavio, let's hear what you guys love.
So the main thing that got us on a Clavio was our Shopify integration. So previously to Shopify, we were on Magento, and trudging through Magento and the ESP that we had at the time, and trying to get those things to connect. And we moved over to Shopify, and the ESP we had at the time was just having trouble connecting the dots. And so we basically had the recommendation from the new, our current VP of e-commerce, and just said, hey, we're going to switch over to Clavio because our current one wasn't doing it. So, and ever since then, because I have been fighting with the ESP and trying to connect even the most rudimentary email flows, like abandoned cart, we were just couldn't connect the dots, or it would break frequently, and things weren't working. Coming over to Clavio and just having it done in an hour was spectacular. So being able to set up multiple flows, we have, abandoned cart, abandoned browse, and just being able to set those up and have those running in the background has been great.
Yeah.
So I think one of our favorite flows right now is our back in stock flow, which, because of COVID, wetsuits have been a hot commodity, and we haven't been able to keep them on site just because the demand has skyrocketed. So our back in stock email has basically been keeping our inventory almost at zero.
Wow.
So, which is a good problem to have, but
yeah. So we have a shot here, you guys, of their back in stock flow. Very simple. Like, it's not anything crazy. That's what I say when I talk to people. I'm like, people think, oh, it has to be so, we do have a very robust platform, but you don't need to set up these crazy flows for it to be effective. And you guys have, one email here and that you said this is one of your best performing flows.
Right. And it fluctuates from week to week, of course, depending on our inventory, but I can always tell when inventory came in because the numbers, the revenue skyrockets, and our AOV goes through the roof because our wetsuits are a high AOV item.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And I saw on the, so thanks guys for posting some of your can't live without Clavio features. I saw a lot of people say segmentation. Is that something that's important for ONeill? Specifically because you definitely have obviously the gender, the 2 gender segments, but what else are you guys doing with segmentation? Go ahead.
So one of the things that we did early on coming into Clavio was we creating sunset campaigns, and because we had that database that was aging and not necessarily responsive, and we were still sending emails to them, our list health was really poor. So by not only setting up segments that were based on engagement and whether or not somebody had been engaged for a long time or within a certain amount of time, we set up not only women's and men's engaged profiles, but several different ones, and how engaged versus how recently they were engaged. And so we've been actually sending more often to that engaged audience, which definitely bumped up our numbers, and we didn't lose revenue or anything. And then we've set up those sunset campaigns to kind of get rid of all the unused email addresses that are still in the database.
That makes sense. That sunset campaign, and is it a sunset campaign or flow?
It's a flow.
Okay. So yeah, so the sunset flow, that's something that's been really, I've heard other brands using that's been very successful, and we can send out you guys after this a link to the help center on how to create those sunset flows for people that aren't familiar with them. So any other tips for the audience, Tim, about like effective segmenting that you could give?
So one of the current favorite Clavio aspects is the predictive next purchase. So we've also set up a nurture campaign with using Clavio's predictive next purchase, so that we're just kind of maximizing that opportunity that happens between your a first-time purchaser and a repeat purchaser. So trying to kind of sweeten the deal between and get that person in that multiple purchase.
such an underdog in Clavio is the predictive analytics, the predictive next purchase date. So definitely check that out, you guys, in Clavio. It's underutilized. A lot of people don't know about it, and it is really, really cool. So that's great. I want to go back. I'm jumping out of order here because that's just how this live from your laptop rolls. But let's get into how you're actually getting people on your email list. So what's the draw, and what are you doing on the site to drive those email signups?
Well, you saw it specifically. We had that pop-up show up, and that's the main draw for getting those email signups. We also run performance marketing where we're using display advertising, we're using social advertising, we're trying different things with Instagram and Facebook, and to try to draw people in and get them on the site and then get them signed up.
I noticed you had a Pinterest page too that has like close
to
to 4 million followers. It's beautiful. I actually follow it. I'm a Pinterest user, so you guys caught me with that for sure. Do you want to talk through kind of the Pinterest strategy? We don't really talk about Pinterest on here.
Yeah, not really. Yeah. So again, it's for some reason the men's audience isn't that big on Pinterest, so it's focused on our women's audience.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily something we have to nurture that much. It is its own animal, and it's bringing some decent amount of clicks in. So
yeah, you're just letting it kind of run. Now, I noticed so people get to your site, you have the pop-up form, you're offering a discount. Is that something that always happens? Is that, something that you guys are like trying to move away from, or are you seeing just success in it? So you just, why fix it if it's not broken?
Not only are we continuing it, we're trying to expand upon it just to do some follow-ups. And you and I had talked about the welcome series, and we're actually updating it, but we're still keeping that coupon series in there. And we're going to add to the flow that there's a follow-up email to see, wait a few days, and if somebody hasn't used the code, to give them a reminder that they have it. But also adding in a welcome back to people that were previously in the database that had maybe been suppressed or unsubscribed, but if we recognize them and they come back into the flow, we'll just say welcome back and give them another code. So
nice.
We'll see how that works when we turn it on.
Yeah, it's all about testing.
Yep.
All right. So as far as like your content for your email, there are a lot of questions from the community that came in about this. So one of the question was, what's your mix of sales focused emails to kind of your brand and lifestyle emails? And I think we have like a couple campaigns to show the difference of kind of the tone and the vibe. But if you want to like talk through that, because I think a lot of the times people find it challenging. Some people see a lot of success from non-salesy emails, more educational content, lifestyle content. But then they start to feel like, well, what else should I talk about? What else can I do? They find it hard to be inspired. So let's talk about what ONeill's doing and maybe what has worked for you guys in the past and, what's working now.
Well, we've done a lot of testing, and we try to switch it up as much as possible by not making, say if it's a multi-day sale, if it's a President's Day weekend, by not making it just the same message over and over again. So we'll break that up with say a men's or a women's email, and then that is product focused, but have a banner that talks about the sale. We've tried to be as little promotional as possible, and almost, I think every year we've cut promotions instead of grandfathering them all in. So we're trying to not only be less promotional, but train our customer to not anticipate it.
Always expect it.
It's also helped with margin across the board because we're not discounting all the time. So
yeah, so I think I'm seeing some questions in the chat about the margins and, offering coupon codes devalues your brand. I think there's a lot of mixed emotions or opinions about that. And you have to do what's right for your brand. And you'll learn that along the way. And you'll learn that, offering discounts now is a hell of a lot different than it was like 5-10 years ago. Like, people are expecting discounts now, but when you're so used to offering them, it's like, how do you just don't drop off and stop offering discounts,
Yep. And somebody asked about the SMS. Yes, we're using SMS through Clavio, and we do have a discount with signing up through them too. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. More info to come on SMS, not in this episode of Live from Your Laptop, but next week. Cool. So, okay. So we just saw two kind of more very straightforward promotional kind of flash sale emails. And then, oh, sorry, Kelsey, can you put it back up? And then the last one, this one is actually more of you have a video. Yeah, you have a video here. This is way more lifestyle. It looks like, was this a product launch for that Hydro board short?
Yeah. So when we launched that brand new board short, the Hyperfreak Hydro with the no drawstring, the no tie fly, which is what we call it. It was so popular, we've actually split that into a series. So this email right here is showing the brand new Hydrofreak Comp board short, which is just it's just different styling. It still has the no tie fly, and it's but just showing all the different features that board short has, but also the different graphics that are applied to it as well.
And this is both genders are included on this. So it looks like you are showing a female. Is that a female?
No. So this is just the men's email. So this is.
Oh, I see. It looks like he had a hat on. Okay, yeah. I gotta get a closer look at
that. No worries. No, so this is just geared towards our men's audience, because our women's audience is more interested in the swimwear, and we don't sell as many board shorts for the women's.
Sure. That makes sense.
Brand, yeah.
Awesome. Well, beautiful, beautiful emails. So as far as, I think we have one more flow to show too. What was the other flow? So we talked about the back in stock, but there was an abandoned cart. I
think it's an abandoned browse, actually.
Abandoned browse. Okay.
The abandoned browse has actually been outperforming our abandoned cart.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So again, still simple. We're still using a dynamic block with our full price product. But that's also it's personalized. So whoever's getting it will be getting suggestions from based on what they've shopped for.
Browsing, right? I really, really love that. And those emails actually get me. Those are the ones that get me, not the stuff that I put in my cart, but the stuff that I was looking at, because like I go back and I'm like, oh, I did actually like that. So good to know. Again, very simple. Cool. All right. We're going to keep moving, you guys. Last question as regards to Clavio, what's your sending cadence? Have you nailed down this? This is actually I saw it in the chat, but it also came in through registration. Have you nailed down a sweet spot for how many marketing messages your customer likes to receive? Great question.
We're sending daily, but we're alternating men's and women's genders.
Okay.
So we're doing about 4 emails per week for both men's and women's, and we don't usually do very many dual gender emails unless it's a promotion. But I don't know that we've hit that sweet spot yet, because we still haven't seen a spike in unsubscribes. The only time we see an amount of churn that's spiking is when we do promotions, which is weird. So.
Okay. Yeah, you guys actually don't have your unsubscribe rate is actually incredibly low, which I thought was really impressive. So great job there.
Yeah, and again, that might have to do with just brand loyalty, but also just we haven't hit that sweet spot yet, or haven't passed that sweet spot, I should say.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Last question. So you guys have obviously been around for, I think, 70 years, if I did my math right. Clearly,
1952. So
what is it?
1952. So next year will be 70.
Close enough, right? I was never really good at math. Clearly, you're doing a lot of things right, as we just heard. And I guess this question is a little bit more thought leadership. Where does ONeill go from here? Are you allowed to share what's next for you guys? How will the brand kind of sustain for another 70 some years?
Well, like I said, every aspect of what we do is based on Jack O'Neill's spirit of innovation. So with the board shorts that we've invented on, or I'm sorry, not invented, but continually tried to expand the technology with different stretches, with different fabrics. Currently, we're going to be launching the ONeill Blue campaign, which is an eco-friendly recycling
Nice.
material that we're going to be using in board shorts and swimwear.
Very cool.
We've had different versions of that, trying to be, because Jack was very adamant about protecting our oceans very early on. He created the ONeill Sea Odyssey out of Santa Cruz, which was a catamaran boat where he would take out classes of elementary kids to learn about the ocean, but also to learn how to protect the ocean. So that's also been key. And I don't think that will ever change in our business. So we're going to be hopefully innovating in that aspect. And our ONeill Blue campaign is going to show how we're doing that currently, and then how we're hopefully going to do that in the future with ocean cleanups. We've always sponsored beach cleanups, etc. And that's always been a big part of, if we're going to be able to surf, we have to be able to keep the ocean clean in order to surf in it. So
that's so good. Yep, I agree with you on that. Awesome. Well, and then obviously, you guys are going to ramp up your rewards program. Hopefully you'll see some good stuff happen from that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tim, for sharing all of this incredible information with us. It was really, really cool to hear the journey of the brand and how you guys have kind of evolved and adapted and pivoted with your consumers over the last 70 years. We're going to definitely get into shaking up some cocktails now, and then we're going to do the giveaway. But I would love to know if you guys would recommend Live from Your Laptop to others in the community. We do this every Tuesday. We've been doing it since last March, last April. So let us know. This helps us understand, if you guys want to still tune in, and if you would encourage others to watch it as well to help their business. So while we finish this out, Tim, I'm making my way to the kitchen. I got to get my tiki cup ready. For those that are still tuning in, if you want to move into your kitchen, or you can just kick your feet up and watch us.
So I picked the Trader Vic's Honey, one of which because I used to bartend when I was in college, and in trying to think of what kind of cocktail I could do that was surf related, the Surfer on Acid was a no-go for me because of Jägermeister. And
okay.
So I have a friend who I actually worked with at ONeill for several years, and he is huge into the tiki culture, and when COVID hit, he has his own rockabilly Hawaiian band called the Hula Girls. Well, COVID hit and he couldn't tour anymore. And so what he did was he turned his channel into a tiki cocktail channel. And so I'd already been a subscriber, and I was like, this is interesting what he's doing. And he's been posting a new video every Friday. It's called Spike's Breezeway Cocktail Hour. If you look on, if you search The Hula Girls on YouTube, you'll find his channel. But I highly recommend it. It's really entertaining. He's got some great outtakes, but it got me into the whole tiki cocktail drinks. And so this recipe, Trader Vic is very iconic, as Jack ONeill was iconic to the surf industry. Trader Vic is iconic to the tiki industry, and I just thought the correlation between the two was kind of a natural progression. So
you should have had the hula girls or the band on the live from your laptop today, Tim.
Good. Whether or not I can
I
call
mean, I can kind of like, you know, go through it, but all right, let's make this honey. What do we?
So the honey is if you ever heard of Trader Vic's, the Trader Vic's Mai Tai recipe is basically this entire recipe, but instead of bourbon, you're using rum. So this is literally the original Trader Vic's Mai Tai recipe, but we're using bourbon. And not to be confused with Scotch, because I would not, if you're using some form of Scotch instead of like an American whiskey or even a Canadian whiskey or a bourbon or a rye, you're going to get some smoky aftertaste there that's probably not going to go well with this cocktail. Yeah. And one of the things that's ubiquitous about tiki drinks is usually the combination of lime juice, crushed ice, and rum. And so currently, I will just get started, I guess. Are you ready?
I always say that I'm ready, and then I forget one ingredient that backs me up. So, all right, I'm ready, Tim.
All right, so first off, we'll start with 2 ounces of bourbon, and I'm using this is called Michter's American Whiskey. It was technically not a bourbon, only because the Michter's reuses their oak casks, so they can't. The rules that apply to bourbon negate this as being able to call it bourbon. So it's basically American whiskey.
Got it.
So I'm going to be using this.
I'm using Jack Daniels, again, not a bourbon and not Jack ONeill, but Jack Daniels, and that's my dog's name, so it's my favorite type of whiskey.
And so I'm going to add ice to my glass, and I'm just going to, I'm going to add a shaker. Sorry, I forgot my shaker. There we go. So I have a shaker. I'm going to add 2 ounces of bourbon first.
Okay.
Hopefully not spill it everywhere.
I think I put
all over my keyboard.
That's okay.
All right. And then let's see. Can you pull up that? I was reading off your recipe and I didn't prepare. There we go. All right. So a half ounce of triple sec liqueur. So you could use Cointreau. You could, if in a pinch, you could use Grand Marnier, but Grand Marnier is a orange brandy. So you get a little bit of different flavor from it, but it'd be marginal. So I'm going to use 3/4 ounce of lime juice, which I'm going to cut right here.
Kind of just eyeing this stuff. That's what I normally did as a bartender.
Honestly, yeah.
Probably why I'm not a bartender anymore, because I just eyed it, but.
Hey, it got me through college.
Same. Same. All right, now this syrup, or how do you say it?
I could be totally mispronouncing it. I'm pretty sure it's called orgeat.
Orgeat syrup.
Orgeat with a hard T.
Orgeat. That's like an almondy. That's what they use to make Mai Tais, right?
Yes. It's a lot of different tiki drinks actually use orgeat, and it is sweet. It's a syrup. It is not a liqueur, so it has no alcohol in it. And basically, if you had to substitute something for this, you could use almond milk, and I think add some sugar to it. You could make your simple syrup out of almond milk, and you would get that basic flavor, because it's especially if you have a strong almond, you might want to add some almond extract to that just to get more of that almondy flavor. But that's it.
Okay.
I found orgeat. I am going to skip the simple syrup because of all the sugar that's in here. I don't think it's necessary, but that's just me. If you want to add simple syrup is basically 2 parts water to, I'm sorry, 1 part water to 1 part sugar, depending on your recipe. There's rock candy syrup, which is 3 parts sugar to 1 part water. Just makes a thicker syrup. So
this is like all alcohol. So let's shake it up.
So I'm gonna shake it until the shaker clouds up to make sure it's nice and cold. And then
Tim, our glasses kind of match. I don't know if anybody else is making the drink with their tiki glass. This is the best tiki glass I could get today. I haven't brought out my summer gear yet, but.
So I have a tiki glass. Actually, I got this from Spike's Breezeway Cocktail Hour from my friend who makes these and sells these. So if you guys want to buy one,
nice.
You can head over to him. I make no money off that, so that's not I'm not getting any residuals from there.
He's not an influencer of that brand. All righty, you guys, cheers. You might want to top it with a pineapple or a cherry. I failed. I don't have any of those, but that's what happens on Live from Your Laptop. Those are like original. Those are really good cherries.
Yeah, the Luxardo cherries. So, and then I threw a sprig of mint in there as well. So
there you go. Cheers, you guys. Happy
Cheers,
Tuesday.
everyone.
Let's take a taste. Ooh, that is strong. I think I put too much whiskey in, but that's all right.
what happens when you eyeball it?
That's happening when you eyeball it. I made good tips, so that's all that matters. All right, you guys. So let's do the trivia question because I know we have like 1 minute left. Are you guys ready? So here's how the trivia question is going to work. Tim's going to ask the question. The first and the 20th person to get the correct answer in the chat is going to win some sweet ONeill merchandise, just like a box of some really cool stuff. So get ready. And here we go. Tim, what's the question?
So in 1952, when Jack ONeill built the first surf shop, he built it in what location? There we go. We got it.
It's coming. All right, so Trevor's going to count. Trevor and Kelsey, they're on the back end. You guys, huge shout out to Trevor and Kelsey. I don't thank them every week, and they need to be thanked every week. They do a lot of good work behind the scenes with this event. Okay, Ocean Beach is the correct answer. So Bree Reardon, you're our winner first. Go girl. And then Trevor's going to count the 20th one and let us know.
I believe we have Tara Cunningham.
Ooh, all right.
All right, Tara and Bree, you are the winners. We will contact you after, and you are going to get some ONeill merchandise delivered straight to your door. Awesome. So thanks for playing, you guys. Even though not everybody was a winner, we are going to still give you a promo code to go get some ONeill merchandise for yourself online. Next week, we do not have a Live from Your Laptop. We are taking a bye week, but there is a very, very special event happening next week that I need all of you tuning in today to tune into. It is our first ever Clavio product announcement event. And no, I am not going to give you the inside scoop on what we're going to be announcing, but I encourage you guys to tune in. So that is happening next Tuesday at noon Eastern Standard Time. I want to give a huge, huge shout out to Tim and the ONeill family for joining us today. We are so honored and grateful and excited that you have chosen Clavio and that you are on this journey with us. And we cannot wait to see what happens next with you guys. Also, this show would not be possible without the community and you guys that tune in every single Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you got some really invaluable tips. And we're going to send out a follow-up email after this with some resources, a link to watch the replay, of course, that 20% off promo code, and a link to the event next week. So thank you guys so much and have a great rest of your week, and get out there and surf if you have some ocean waves near you.